Bring in Jeff Pasquino from the footballguys.com for another week of the Fantasy Fix here on 97.3 ESPN. Jeff, welcome back, pal. How are you?
Always good to be back, Mike.
Yeah, man, and we're cruising through another season. Week 7 of the NFL kicks off tonight. We got a Miami team that's starting to get things in order. Let's start with them. Just because the Dolphins have played better football, are you enjoying some of their fantasy prospects?
I am. I think Lamar Miller is doing really well. I think this team really changed over their bye when they changed the head coach, and things are moving already into Week 8. I'm not surprised you're a little behind that. It's going so fast. We're almost halfway through already. But I like the Dolphins and New England to score a lot of points tonight.
All right. You mentioned you like Lamar Miller. How about Tannehill? I got questions about him. He's had a record streak of completion passes here, but is he a guy you want starting on your fantasy team?
Well, I think that, lots of people were asking about Tannehill this week, and I think it's a really good question. I have him as a low-end quarterback 1 this week. I think there's lots of passing to be had this weekend. It's a short week. It's a road game. That's two things that are usually against you on a Thursday night contest. But I think Miami is going to have to throw to keep up with the Patriots tonight. So I kind of like him. I don't love him, but I think he's a solid option. If you don't have a better roster, you got to go with him tonight.
You got, obviously, Brady is always a play, but what are you doing at running back tonight? If you're a Blunt owner or a Dion Lewis owner, what's your advice there?
Well, normally on a Thursday night game, you want to go with a home running back. But with New England, I don't really buy that script. And you know what Belichick does. He never does what you think he's going to do. So I'm avoiding the New England Patriots backfield if I can. If I had to pick one, I would pick Blunt. In the PPR league, I would probably lean Dion Lewis. But if I had better options, I'm probably looking elsewhere at running back because I think that New England's going to be all out the pass tonight.
All right, let's look at the passers this week, the quarterback play. Let's talk with Jeff Pasquino, footballguys.com. Philip Rivers, let's start with him. He had 500 yards a couple of weeks ago. I would assume against Baltimore that he might be one of the top plays of the week.
He is. I got him way at the top of my list. Some other guys have him in the top 3, but he's a consensus top 5 guy this week. The Baltimore can't stop anybody with the secondary. San Diego's ground game is virtually non-existent. I have Rivers doing really well this week, almost a lock for 300 yards.
All right, how about some injured guys? Let's look at Roethlisberger. You going right to Roethlisberger, week 1, back from injury?
Well, normally I like to give a guy a week to get back into health. Big Ben's never been 100% healthy in my book anyway, but I think he's going to throw a lot. But the Bengals are a tough matchup. They're coming off of a bye. Not everything. I wouldn't be surprised if Ben misses a few throws here and there. I think he's a solid quarterback, too. I want to give him one more week to get healthy and really see how he plays.
All right, Jeff Pasquino, footballguys.com. A couple more questions. Peyton Manning owners out there, I know you've said a couple times about possibly not playing him, but is it time to start dropping Peyton Manning?
Well, that's a tough one. I mean, there's not enough good quarterbacks to go around in the league. I mean, who are you going to drop for? Derek Carr? I don't think I would do that. But I think, with the receivers that he has in the suspect ground game, which I kind of like this week, it's iffy there too. But you got to hold on to Peyton Manning because Denver can put up points. I don't think this is the week I would really use him, but he's a solid number 2 on your roster.
Hey, what are you doing with Jameis Winston? He's been a guy who it seems like he makes a lot of mistakes, throws a lot of picks, but if you're watching him sitting on your bench, he's been putting up some points. What are you doing with Winston?
Well, in the right matchup, he's worth it. But this week with Vincent Jackson hurt and other guys hurt, I mean, there's a sneaky tight end for Safarian Jenkins for Tampa Bay this week who might be back. If he's starting, I would use him, but I really hesitate to use him because it's so up and down. It's just he's not consistent enough for a regular week usage just yet.
All right, we got a lot of running back questions. Let's shift over to them. Many of the Arian Foster owners have come out this week. Obviously, he has done year here. Alfred Blue, Chris Polk. What's the running back situation in Houston?
It's a mess, and I picked up one of those guys for cheap, and just because I needed a guy. But I think both these guys are really just a guy to put out there. They're not really that good. They're not going to. Houston doesn't run the ball very well right now. I think that Brian Hoyer is going to throw to Hopkins and Nate Washington a ton this week. Both those guys will see a dozen targets, if not more. Houston runs off a lot of plays, and they're mostly going to be passing this week and probably all weeks going forward.
Yeah, we got a lot of questions about, it seems like because the bye weeks and injuries, you got a lot of under-the-radar guys. Let me go to Darren McFadden in Dallas. What's the situation with the Cowboys quarterbacks? You know, last week they were saying it's going to be Christine Michael. He didn't seem like he was in the mix. Randall seemed like he got banged up. And then you saw Darren McFadden go crazy last week. So what's the Dallas situation?
Well, it's all about McFadden right now. Randall has issues both on and off the field. They're giving McFadden everything. He has been named starter. He had 29 carries last week. It's all about McFadden. If I said it all along, if one guy gets 20-plus carries behind that offensive line, he's worth starting in your league. So that's McFadden right now.
How about Tennessee? Bishop Sankey, you got Dexter McCluster, Antonio Andrews. What's the guy to play in Tennessee? I mean, if you're desperate for backs, like it sounds like people are sending questions about Antonio Andrews, and what's the Tennessee situation?
If you're desperate for a back this week, Antonio Andrews is a solid running back too. But the guy I would go get is David Cobb. He's going to be back next week. He's going to be off of the early IR. That's the guy they want to feature the second half of the year and see if he's going to be their feature back for next year. David Cobb is the guy I would get.
All right, David Cobb, for the people out there asking about the Tennessee backs, it's Jeff Pasquino, footballguys.com. Let's stay with some more backs because there's a lot of crazy situations. How about the Eddie Lacy, James Stark situation in Green Bay? What's your advice for those owners?
Well, they're going to play the hot hand. Eddie Lacy is still the starter there, at least in name, if not by usage. Stark's got a lot of touches and played really well. I think Lacy's probably banged up, saying how hurt he is. I think it's a 50-50 split going forward, but if I had to pick one to start this week, I would probably go with Stark.
All right, Jeff Pasquino, let's move over to the wide receivers now. Get a couple of wide-out questions. Let's start with Dez Bryant back, and you feeling confident enough to play him yet?
No, because he's coming up a really bad it's a bad matchup against the Seattle secondary. Plus, he's got a bad quarterback. So, there's three strikes. Bad matchup, bad quarterback, and first game back from an injury. So I'm not using him until I see more. I hope to see that he has a decent game so that going forward he'll be a usage. But this week, no, not unless I'm desperate.
Hey, how about the Pittsburgh situation? I think a lot of people took Antonio Brown, might have been the first pick in some drafts, but it's been Martavius Bryant who's been the big play guy the last couple of weeks.
Well, Bryant's been the big play guy because a lot of guys have been just chucking it from back there that were named Vic or Jones, just a wing and a prayer, and Bryant's been able to pull a couple down. But now with Ben Roethlisberger back, you're going to see Antonio Brown get those 10-plus targets, 7 or 8 catches a week. So Brown is going to be back to the wide receiver one status very, very soon.
All right, Jeff Pasquino, footballguys.com. Mike Evans, last year there was a streak there where Evans was a wide receiver one, and he was really putting up some big numbers. Is he starting to get back to that the last couple of weeks?
He is, and we have him as the number 2 wide receiver this week because of all the injuries for Tampa Bay. Vincent Jackson's out again. Atlanta's going to put up points. Tampa Bay has to throw it to somebody. So Mike Evans and Austin Seferian-Jenkins, if he plays at tight end, both those guys are going to see a lot of action this week.
This guy seems like he's getting some more popularity over the weeks here. Willie Snead going up against the Giants. Is he a play for the Saints?
Snead he's kind of getting the underneath middle routes from Drew Brees, who isn't throwing the ball deep very well right now. But the other hot pickup is obviously Stephon Diggs from Minnesota. Those are the 2 hot pickup wide receivers right now.
All right, let's get a couple questions in from the listeners. Text ESPN and your questions to 89,000. We'll fire off as many questions as we can for Jeff. We start off with a tight end question. Heath Miller or Jason Witten?
I love Jason Witten this week. It's a very little known fact that Seattle is actually the worst team fantasy-wise against tight ends. So Jason Witten is a great start. They're worse than even Oakland. So Jason Witten's a great play this week.
Dennis wants to know, what's up with Eddie Lacy? Should I really sit him for Danny Woodhead?
I wouldn't do that unless it's the PPR league, and even then I'd hesitate. But you know what? Woodhead's on the field a lot. Yeah, I go ahead. I go ahead and do that when it doesn't sound like it makes sense. I wouldn't advise it back in August, but things change a lot. Go with Woodhead.
Emmanuel Sanders shoulder injury. Should I play him or James Jones? That's from Clarence in Bridgeton.
I would not really look to play much of Denver defense, which is really, really solid. So I would bench James Jones.
All right, Jeff Pasquino from the footballguys.com. Every week at this time, he helps set your fantasy football lineup. Got a lot of questions in and gave you some good advice there. What was that name? David Cobb. Write that down because we're all looking for running backs, myself included. I'm on the Arian Foster miserable train right now. Jeff Pasquino from the footballguys.com here on the Sports Bash. Jeff, good luck to you.
Good luck, everybody. Enjoy the games.